She said that American soccer fans, most of them aren't smart. They don't know the game. They don't understand.
Gio.
That guy Gaspacho.
Sports can take a lame gorilla, okay?
Advice, did you know that Arsenal is shy?
These got me buzzing.
Up the talkies. It's hard to up them anyway.
I'm gonna comment on that.
What is up, ladies and gents? Welcome back to Footy with the Boys. It is Nico here, Mike over there, and as you can see, we are down a man today. Flags is out, but for good reason, celebrating his wonderful girlfriend's birthday. So happy birthday to Maddie. Shouts out to her.
Birthday, man.
Happy birthday, Maddie.
She doesn't watch the pod, so she won't hear this. But shout out to them. Hope they're having a good time. We got a bunch of stuff that we are going to get into today. We have some big news to wrap up from Copa America with the man that you currently see on your screen, one Enzo Fernandez. We're going to talk about transfer news from throughout the summer, really. We haven't really been keeping track with all the Euros and Copa that we've had going on. So some transfer news to go over, some of our thoughts on the biggest news coming out of the Prem and around the world. And then we are going to wrap up our episode with a great segment where each of us are going to detail who our top 3 managers we want, realistic managers that we want to be coaching the U.S. men's national team for this next World Cup run in 2 years. So we're very excited for that. We're going to get all into it. But we're going to start with one Enzo Fernandez, Mike.
Naughty.
Post-game celebrations. Yeah. The Colombian fans were naughty getting into the stadium. The Argentinian players were naughty getting out because in some post-match celebrations on the bus, a bus that Lionel Messi was not on, our GOAT remains untainted. Shout out to Messi. But on a bus of post-game celebrations filled with their young, I called them thugs after the Copa America, maybe a little reactive, but who knows now? Enzo Fernandez on Instagram posted a video of some pretty racist chants, not towards the Colombian national team, towards the French for whatever reason. So Enzo Fernandez, there was some fallout there. It was very 2024, I'd say. A lot of people unfollowing him from the Chelsea team. There was a notes app apology. Apparently there was a private conversation. And then he put out on his apology saying that I just got swept up in the celebrations, and that's why I turned racist. So, Mike, what do you make of the whole situation? What do you think if this is going to affect Chelsea Football Club at all? Does this make you view the Argentinian team a little bit different? What do we think about the whole situation?
It's obviously not a good thing. Racism doesn't belong in the game. We can all agree racism is bad. That being said, there is a little bit of it's a song. It's a song that the fans created, that the fans sing. It is racist. You know, it implies or states that all of France's players come from countries in Africa, which some might be true, but, can't say that. So we don't
quite the take you're cooking. It's quite the take you're cooking.
Will it really affect it? I mean, obviously with some of his teammates, they were quick to, say, hey, that's not okay, shame him, which he probably deserves, definitely. And maybe he'll listen because it is his teammates, people that he sees on a daily basis. So that is important. Maybe his apology was authentic, even though it wasn't well done. You could always do better than that. Just do better, Enzo. Do better, Argentinian national team. Look at your GOAT Messi. If you're going to do that shit, don't put it on video or just don't do that shit.
Yeah, I mean, don't be racist. If there's one thing we stand for at Footy with the Boys, say no to racism. Shout out to us. We are a leading podcast in non-racism, so way to go, us. But just whatever you think of it, celebrations or not, I'm sure drinks were being passed around, tipsy or not. Just don't be stupid. Why are you posting that in the first place? Why are you saying it? I mean, it's a bad look. And as an Arsenal fan, I love it because I do think if you're a French player on the Chelsea team, you're like, this guy's kind of a prick. And it's not exactly like Chelsea has the most healthy club environment at the moment. So do I actually think it's going to impact anything? No, but I'm not expecting a good year from Chelsea again. Some of that is because I don't believe in their locker room. Some of that is because I don't know what to think about Enzo Maresca. And some of that is because of their transfers. They have been busy adjacent, I guess you could say, in the transfer market so far this summer. Since we have ended the Premier League season, there's been a lot of confirmed transfers. So we're going to walk you through some of them, including two of Chelsea's. Chelsea from Leicester City, recently promoted. Shout out to Leicester. They did sign Kieran Dewsbury Hall from Leicester, worth with Enzo Maresca. He actually, I thought the year before they went down, I thought he looked really good. So I like the player. Whether or not he's a level of Chelsea is a different conversation. And also saw Mark Gui. I don't know.
Sure.
young kid from Barcelona, who, La Masia product, was supposed to be some promise there. Got him for £6 million. So, I mean, not really that much to say there outside of that he came from Barca. Man U themselves have been busy. When Leon Leroy recently signed, it was rumored he was going to Madrid on a free next summer, or that Madrid would pay £25 million to get him now. Man U came in with a £60 million offer. Great negotiations. Bought him. Joshua Zirkzee for a little over $40 million also joins. From Everton, Andre Onana leaves, joining Giovanni Lo Celso, going to Villa. Bayern signed a couple of Premier League stars, Michael Olise, João Palhinha, who had a move fall through last summer. And then, of course, maybe the 116th charge, Savinho joins Man City from their own project. These are kind of some of the bigger things that I have seen in the Lo Celso deal to Villa. Jacob Ramsey also went the opposite way to Tottenham. So Tottenham secures a young English borderline international player. He's been capped, I'm pretty sure. So some good, some bad. I don't know. Which one do we think we like the most of all those we mentioned, Trace?
I really like the Lenny Yoro deal for Man U. That's a big piece of business, even though he costs a lot of money. They're able to compete with Madrid in the transfer market, which is big. He's a young, promising defender. From what I've read and the clips I've seen, really talented, 18. And that's a department area of the field where they need bodies, need to reinvest because Varane's out. You have Lisandro Martinez, but then Harry Maguire, is he going to be able to give you an entire season? How good is he going to be? I don't know. And the rest of the options are not great either. So a young center back is going to be really good for this team.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there. I actually like the other deal a bit more. I like the Joshua Zirkzee deal to Man U. I think that the market value wasn't bad to get a striker in the mid 40s area with add-ons. I think is a pretty good deal. I like his game a lot. I think it provides competition to Højlund. Neither one of them are the guy, but they both feel like they can be a guy. So I think like that competition to push each other and then being able to rotate through them is something they definitely didn't have last year when Højlund was gone. That team was atrocious and pretty bad when he was there too. So I think two strikers can help, and I think it's a pretty good market value. So not a Red Devil fan myself, but I do like that transfer. Seems like steps in the right direction on both those transfers, I think. Which one do you think has you just a little bit confused? Maybe scratching your head, maybe asking yourself, what are you guys doing on this one, on these or any others you might come to mind?
The Mark Gui transfer from Barcelona to Chelsea. I've watched Gui play a few times, just watching Barcelona, young striker. Didn't play a whole lot, looked okay, but not what Chelsea need at all. I mean, their striker options weren't great last year. Nicholas Jackson is a winger who they played up top. And I thought they were going to buy a big name striker. Victor Osimhen was definitely the name that was linked to him. Ivan Toney, maybe that will still happen later in the transfer market.
Yeah.
But Mark Gui is interesting one. I don't see the impact he's going to have. And he might just be another player who's kind of lost in the endless list of their roster pool.
Yeah, bro. It feels like they've done this like 6-7 times now in the past 2 years.
Yeah.
Ugo Chukowu or whatever that kid's name was, kind of feels like the same thing. Brought in really young, somehow part of the first team, isn't really going to play outside of like cup start, maybe. I don't know. Like he's going to get lost in the shuffle. I'm sure he got offered a bag, and I think he'll he'll be loaned out in the next year or two when it ultimately doesn't work out and eventually sold in something under the radar. So, all the best to him. He's a Barca kid. I understand where you're coming from there. To me, initially, the one that you liked, the Yoroi one, made very little sense to me. Not from Man U's perspective, although, I mean, upping a bid by $40 million feels a bit like some negotiation not too savvy. But from his perspective, I found it very confusing. I think it might be too big of a step at this moment because I think you're right. Look at the options there. I think he's going to play. I think he's going to play. I think he's going to be a starter at 18, at least for a good amount of games. I'd put the over under at like 20 games started for the kid, especially with injuries and stuff. There's not a lot of center back depth. Look at some of the kids who played center back for them last year, right? So, and for that price tag, he's going to play. I don't know if he's ready for that. The Premier League's a physical league. He does seem like one of these modern center backs, can play with the ball at their feet. That one was one that didn't make sense to me that much, but then I heard that Lille basically threatened to not play him for a year if he didn't accept this move to Man U. So, which makes sense for Lille, get the bag if he's going to go on the free or a big oversell. So good for them. Outside from that, the only other one I guess that has me a little scratching my head is the Olise one. Not so much that he left, but the destination. I didn't see him going to Bayern. I think they have some rumors are they want to keep Sane and Musiala is obviously there. They feel like they give younger guys options. So it surprised me a little bit, especially because they don't spend that much money usually. I feel like Harry Kane felt like the exception, and now they're really starting to splash some cash. So I really thought that he would go to a bigger team. Same vibe kind of with Onana too. I like what Villa's doing, but honestly, if you told me Arsenal signed Onana for 50 mil from Everton, I'd be on board with that transfer. So especially when there's not a lot of sixes like him on the market right now, it feels like. So those two also left me scratching my head a little. And undoubtedly, either the guys we mentioned here or some others that are yet to come that we'll get to in a second in the rumors. But undoubtedly, some of these guys are going to flop. So which one do you think, Trace, is the most likely to not make the impact he might be billed to?
Off the top, I'll probably go with Savio to Man City, just because it might not be a flop. I just don't know how much he'll play in the first season or maybe even first 2 seasons. There's a lot of competition in those attacking areas, especially on the wing. I know Jack Grealish and Pep have had their issues, but if Jack Grealish is on the money, there's no chance Savio's touching the field. He's super skilled. I thought what he did at Girona was super impressive, but will he able to have that same impact at Man City where it's much more restrictive? Pep doesn't like creative players being creative all the time. You have to work within his system. It's a big ask for a young player, especially a young Brazilian player. I could see it not working out.
Yeah, that's a good point. I also didn't think he had a great Copa. I thought he was meh when he came on.
I thought that was the whole team.
And
sure.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see what they do because, like you said, I'm really interested to see what happens to Grealish. Is he just gonna rot away another season on the bench? Like that's crazy to me. I can't believe that name hasn't come up more in transfer rumors. So I definitely see a Savinha shout. For me, yeah, I hate to pick on the kid, but I really do think it's going to be Roy. I think at 18, a starter center back, arguably the hardest position to play in world football and in the toughest league to play it in the Prem. I don't think he's physically ready. I don't know if he's mentally there either. He looks very promising, and I just don't want him to burn out so young. So I'm a little bit nervous about that, but I do like the player quite a bit. And if you're Man U, that's someone you can get. It's someone you should get. I'd like a little bit more experience to protect him a little bit more, but it just makes me nervous is all. There's other center backs on the move to my team, to the Gunners, because Calafiori, you're talking about William Saliba has aura. This kid has aura, bro. Like he is something else. He has been strongly rumored to Arsenal. In fact, as of this weekend, it feels like it's basically confirmed. There's a sell-on clause with his previous club and his previous club, Bologna and Benfica, that they're trying to figure out. As Benfica had a really high sell-on clause, but it's rumored for around £35, around 40 million euros, which is a great deal for a kid who had a great season with Bologna and, able to accomplish Champions League football there under Thiago Motta. And I think kind of introduced himself to the world at the Euros. Probably, arguably, Italy's best player. He had that lung-bursting run for the assist against Croatia, if you remember that. That got them through to the knockout stages. So excited there. A bit confused. I do think it's good value. I think we have a lot of players in that profile. Kivior, Tommy, Timber. You know me, I love Hurrien Timber, and this feels like it kind of closes the starting spot for him at that left back role. Unless, and I don't know how you could, but unless he's supposed to take Gabriel's slot, which Gabriel's El Monstro, so I don't know. But he's strongly rumored. I think probably in the next week or two he'll be confirmed transfer. Mikel Merino, the Spaniard, also rumored to Arsenal. I like him a lot. Apparently he's waiting on other offers from, I believe, Atletico Madrid and possibly Barca. But I think he'd be great there. An experienced guy in the midfield and a really, really good player that doesn't have to start every game, but that can be quality every time he plays, which I think is needed. And a surprise German has been rumored all throughout the Euros. So Jamal Musiala, come on down. You are a gunner. Congratulations, my friend. And welcome to the family. We will see you very shortly. Speaking of rumors, though, there hasn't been a bigger rumor than Nico Williams, as he's expecting a big move this summer. Of course, he is dreaming of going to Barcelona. He had a great year, and then, him and Yamal were the talk of the tournament, it feels like. Danny Olmo, who also had a great tournament, also expecting big moves. Barca is very strongly rumored with both of them. As our resident Barcelona fan, Trace, what do you think about these transfers?
I'm really excited about either of them. Nico Williams or Danny Olmo coming in would be huge. I think I prefer Nico Williams if I had to choose between the two.
Fair.
I think off that left wing, him and then Yamal on the right, and then if Lewandowski has another good year or two in him, that's a scary front three. It's a front three that's going to grow a lot. I love how both of them play. I think they'll fit in the Barcelona system very well. Interested to see how Hansi Flick will run this team, but dude, the future is set. If we have a midfield with Gavi, Pedri, and we got Nico and Yamal on the wings, if those dudes can stay healthy, if we can build around them, it looks like a generational Barca team getting back to winning Champions Leagues, getting back to challenging Real Madrid, which we haven't done really since Messi left. So very, very excited.
Yeah, bring back the days where Spain starting 11 was Barca starting 11. that's what it feels like. Him and Yamal running down the wings would be electric. As we've seen it at the Euros, obviously. Speaking of the other side of El Clasico, Real Madrid, obviously the big news that has been reported for about 3 years now. Kylian Mbappe recently unveiled Endrick, who, if there's any kid in football that I want to flop, it's him. Hate that guy. I think he's got the fakest aura of all time, but whatever. But speaking of other moves that are potentially coming, in the recent weeks, there's been rumors of Trent Alexander-Arnold leaving Liverpool, who has been very quiet in the transfer market thus far. Potentially leaving to go to Real Madrid. The post-Klopp exodus possibly beginning here. The Scouse boy, the hometown favorite, going to Real Madrid. It does feel like he needs a change, Trace, maybe? I don't know. I don't totally know if he needs something. Didn't start any games with the Euros. Has started like 3 big games, right? Like internationally at a major tournament. So that's crazy for the profile that he is. I don't know. What do you think about Trent to Madrid? Do you like it?
I know they'd love it. Real Madrid's been, after him at least for a few years. Perez is a huge fan of Trent, and he's a huge name, so it'd be cool in that regard. I think it'd be a huge miss for Liverpool if they let this guy go. This could be the face of your team. Definitely is one of the best players on the team. He's a difference maker. You can't let this guy go. He's homegrown. He represents Liverpool really well, and this is like a club legend guy. And if you let him leave now, who knows what you're missing out on? I think he's bought into Liverpool. I think he really loves it. I don't think he necessarily needs the move for his career. I think he just needs to win something with Liverpool again. And new coach coming in. It's a tall task with Man City still there, but I think he'll want to be around for the project. I don't see this going through.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be hard to imagine for sure, but it feels like even part of, I don't know, this could be just me buying into the media, I guess, but it feels like even part of Liverpool is starting to turn on him. Some of the fans, and like you said, he is the hometown boy. It must be incredibly difficult because he's definitely a guy that's gotten to the point where people have pointed out his flaws. Like maybe he was a little overhyped, although that's arguable. But people started hating on him so much that they just don't remember how good of a player he is. Right back or not, he's insane.
He's phenomenal. I mean, he had a good season last year. He just missed a good amount with injury, but when he was playing, he was winning games for Liverpool. He was scoring goals. I mean, he was really, really good, and working in that inverted fullback role was special to watch.
Yeah, he's also not a good defender, but I think part of it's mental at this point because he's not that bad of a defender as he's been looking. Like he's been getting he's been getting cooked a little bit, and he is not as bad as some of these clips show him to be. So, and clips show his worst moments, obviously, but still, I don't know. It feels like maybe there's a block in his head, but to me, he feels like an armband guy at Liverpool. So you got to do everything you can to keep him, extend him, because he's it. He is the truth. If we're being honest, he's got something that very few people possess, and that is game changing ability, an ability to win the game by yourself. So you got to hold on to those guys. You really do. Our last transfer rumor that we'll talk about is a Copa America winner. Actually, started just about every game, even though the guy that came on for him won the Golden Boot. Julian Alvarez is rumored to be looking for a bigger role. Maybe got a taste of that number 9 shirt on Argentina. Doesn't love playing second fiddle to Holland, which I think we can agree he always will be as long as they're both there. Atletico have been rumored. I don't know if I see that one. If he were to move on, where do you think is somewhere he could go, Trace?
Anywhere in the world. I mean, this dude is that good. I'd take him at Barcelona in a heartbeat. Like if we're looking for Robert Lewandowski replacement, give me Julian Alvarez. Yeah, I mean, any team that's got money, I think he could go there. There's not too many strikers in the world that start over this guy. Erling Haaland just happens to be one of them. We saw Pep try to incorporate him more last year, kind of underneath him in that De Bruyne role when De Bruyne was out at least. But he's going to want to play striker. He's going to want to play in his natural position, I'm sure. And if he can get a move to a club that's going to compete, I think it'll work.
Yeah, I think Barcelona would be ideal. If I'm being honest, he would be. Lewa is on his way out soon. You'd imagine. He just doesn't have the legs anymore. Not to the extent of a guy like Suarez, but heading down that path, I think eventually in a year or two. So I think he'd be perfect there. Would really work in their interchanging front three. I'd take him at Arsenal. I'd take him at Arsenal right now. I'd take him. I mean, anywhere you want to name, I think there's probably a list of 5 teams that he doesn't walk into as a starter. So, yeah, gonna be a real interesting one to follow, and we'll kind of keep you updated with Julian Alvarez. I don't think it happens this summer, if I'm being honest, but I do think eventually he's gonna want to leave, especially if Pep wants to pull a Joe Biden and step down for the good of the club. So, we will see. But that is it on our transfer rumor mill. And some confirmed transfers. Let us know what you think about some of these transfers. What do you think about some of these that have gone through? What do you think about some people that are rumored? Which rumors did we miss? Which one should we talk about on next pod? Premier League start is about a month away, I think. So we got to talk some of these rumors, boys. Let us know in the comments who we should talk about. But moving on to the United States men's national team, we thought with the wonderful news recently that Greg Berhalter had stepped down, and just with name after name, it feels like being tossed, everywhere about who is going to take the job. The most recent and arguably the strongest being Patrick Vieira, who recently stepped down from his French league job and saying they're working out the details. We thought it'd be good to talk about who our ideal, realistic managers could be for the U.S. men's national team. Here's the way I thought of it, Trace. I thought one has to be realistic. No Pep, no Klopp, no Luis whatever De La Fuente, no Scaloni, yeah, no Mourinho. All these people. I know you did. I can fucking see it in your face. So We went realistic, but I also went with very much the time frame of this World Cup, 2 years. That's what I need. After that, I don't care. We can get another guy for the next 4 years. We can have a little more time to go through it. But this World Cup is the most important World Cup in our history, arguably, with the player talent that we have, and obviously it being at home. So that is kind of the parameters of this little exercise that we are going to do. Flags obviously is not here, but if there's one guy whose opinion you really want to listen to about the U.S. men's national team, it is Jared Flaggett. So he has given his list to Producer P, and Producer P is going to start us off here. Palmer, what did Flag say is his third option? So his third favorite guy to take the reins for this next World Cup run.
So Flags' official statement is for the third pick, he likes Wilfred Nancy.
I fucking knew it.
And he says, if it's correct that it's actually between Nancy, Cherundolo, and Vieira, I'd much prefer Nancy because he's proven to, in 1 year, move every team he's coached to a massive improvement.
That is true. He has improved them massively. Mike, you give it a big thumbs down. Tell me why.
I give it a thumbs down. I will track that thumbs down in the context of if it's those three guys, Jared has a point. If there are other options, I give it the thumbs down.
Yeah, and theoretically there should be other options, you would think. But I mean, everything we hear about Nancy is he's a master tactician. Are we really implementing a new system in 2 years of a couple international friendly windows? Like, I think this hire is one that Twitter loves, and we know Flags, lives on Twitter, men's national team. So he might, honestly. I USMNT only, aka Jared Flaggett. But I think this is a walking red flag in Wilfred Nancy. I think that he will make the system overcomplicated. I don't think that he has a proven track record of success. He has a proven track record of improving teams. I don't know if he has a proven track record of flexibility or adaptability, which makes me a little bit nervous because you can't choose your players, obviously, in this situation. Now, he has a lot of talent. I think he'd be a really interesting maybe guy to look at for the next cycle. But if you're telling me, if you're telling me there's 18 months and this team's got to be ready in 18 months and the 6 windows of international football that we're going to have, I don't think Nancy's my guy, if I'm being honest. So makes me a little bit nervous. Nothing against the manager. I think he's the best manager in the MLS. Would love to see him get some experience in Europe maybe before taking this job with some higher competition. But those are my 2 cents there. Mike, we're going to move on to you and your third favorite guy to take this job. Tell me why Jose Mourinho's your guy.
It is not, but I'm going to piss people off with this pick. I'm going to piss you off, Jared off, myself off, anybody who's listening. I'm thinking Bob Bradley. Give me back Mr. Bob. The glory days of the U.S. men's national team when I first started watching, when we won things, when we had historic moments, when we played good football. I'd take Bob for the 2-year period, currently coaching over in Norway, but has tons of international experience, coached Egypt after he coached the U.S. men's national team. So very experienced in that regard, which I think is important. A dude who is known to keep guys in order, run a tight ship, which it seemed to get kind of loose under Greg Berhalter. So opposite in that regard, which is important. Issues, obviously, a much older dude, already has coached the U.S., had a falling out with the Federation, felt very misdone when he was fired. So there are problems, but if we're going to look at MLS managers or American guys, give me Bob Bradley. I think he's the best of the bunch.
Listen, I think I don't hate it as much as Nancy somehow, if I'm being honest. I do hate it. I do think it might be less realistic than Klopp because the way that these two, the Federation and Bradley, kind of parted ways was not pretty. So I don't think this one has any chance of happening. But the international experience is there. He is a bit of a hard ass, which a lot of people are saying this group needs.
He looks like a bit of a
I don't know.
ass.
He is, yeah. I don't know if that's like true. Think like it's okay to like your coach, but if you are a little bit too chummy, and he gave the players a lot. Like,
Players.
yeah, the player council was weird. It was always weird. That shouldn't be a thing. I get what he was going for, especially because they were young, but it still was weird. So I don't hate it. No, yeah, I hate it. I don't want him. I don't want him. I do hate it. So sometimes you got to go forward to go. Sometimes you got to go back to go forward, but that is not the case this time. So, Bob Bradley, you stay in Norway and enjoy your time with all the beautiful Scandinavians. My third guy is also likely to piss some people off. He said, Jared did, on his little snippet with producer P, that the rumors are very strong that it's Cherundolo, that it's Vieira, or that it is Wilf Nancy. Recently, it feels like people are saying that things just have to be ironed out with Vieira. My third option is Patrick Vieira for this national team. And let me tell you why. I've been saying the past, however, like since Copa ended, or since we got grouped, really, that we need an international experience guy. Patrick Vieira is not that. Let's be very clear. I am contradicting myself. People in the comments, relax. I know I am. Here is why I like him. I think his lack of success has been largely overblown. I think that he has been dealt pretty tough hands at Montreal for sure. At Palace for sure. I don't know too much about his time with Strasbourg, but I can't imagine it was a great situation. And I liked this is biased to be fair, but I liked the football he played a lot at Palace for a while. I thought that they looked pretty good early on, and he was able to kind of install a change in the team that desperately needed it. The players that he had were old, to be fair. And I also think a lot of people point at his kind of lack of tactics, and he very much plays one of the fullbacks attack. He has a really strong number 9. He can bypass the midfield, and he creates overloads in the wide spaces. So that's kind of a tried and true method of football. I think a simple method, maybe not so much the stuff we see today from a guy like Pep or a guy like Arteta, with all the inverting and all the different covering and all these different things. I think it's a good thing for U.S. men's national team. I think that we have been begging for the return of a U.S. men's national team that plays hard, that plays rigid, that can scrap out results against bigger teams. And I think that he has a style of play that can do that. I also think that obviously he has the highest pedigree as a player. I think he walks into that locker room and players are going to be kind of on edge. And I don't think that's a bad thing at this moment. Again, maybe the whole friendship thing is overblown. But I do think that having a guy who you just immediately have to respect is a big deal. I don't know if Wilf Nancy walking into that room provides the same. I know Steve Cherundolo doesn't. So of those 3 options, and really of all the options, I like Vieira a lot as our guy. I think his tactics work. The one thing work for the national team. And I think he's the right kind of person for the national team. The one thing that makes me a little scared, I do think it leaves some of our more talented players a little bit isolated, I guess you could say. I don't see Flo working in his system that well. I don't see a spot for Gio in the midfield. I think he would probably be moved to the wing, if I'm being honest, because Timmy Weah, he does like to play with a touchline winger, and then one guy who kind of tucks in more. I'd assume that'd be Pulisic, but I think Gio can still play that role. So, there is some questions with, is he the right guy for this group of players? But I'm starting to see the vision the more I look at Vieira. So if he is the hire, I'm not going to complain too much.
I don't like it, dude. I think he's a case of a great player doesn't make a great manager or even a good manager. I don't really buy into it. He hasn't had any successful stints, no international experience. I think he's a dude, maybe if he shows something in the next 2 years, could get the job after the cup, but I don't think it's right for this time.
You did start your argument for him by saying, I think his lack of success is overblown. It's not.
Yeah, exactly, well, listen, it's not a great start, but I just think he'd be the right guy. The more I guess I don't care if you don't have international experience. I don't really care about your experience in general. Like I'm not really too blown away by Nancy being good in the MLS. That doesn't do that much for me. Like that's not gonna like that might be good for CONCACAF, I guess, but that's not gonna mean anything in a World Cup. So I think Vieira understands tournament football, even though he doesn't have international experience as a manager because he did it as a player. And I think he'd be the right temperament for the team. And I think just simplifying, going back to some lower blocks, going back to some more direct play is something that can help this national team thrive. I do think we're monsters in the transition. And I think that's something that he could really highlight. And I'm also starting to believe a lot less in our player pool. So I don't want this free flowing Julian Nagelsmann football if we don't have the players to produce it, which I'm starting to genuinely believe we don't. So let's get as far as possible in this World Cup. We have some very talented players who can make a difference, but they're not going to control games, in my opinion. I would take Patrick Vieira as my coach, but I guess we'll talk more about him next week when he gets hired. But anyways, back to producer P and Flags' list of managers. Who does Flags have as number 2, producer P?
Flags chooses Mauricio Pochettino for his number 2 pick.
Of course he does. This is the most basic list.
He says
because
What'd he
he's
say?
a top-level club manager, and if he's actually interested, a big step up from Greg. Wow. What an analysis.
What an analysis.
Yeah. Thoughts, Tracy?
I mean, Poch is a big manager, successful manager, good coach. I can't argue with that. I could see it work too. Like a manager of that pedigree coming into the job could do a lot. No international experience scares me, but I would definitely give it a go. If Pochettino was involved or interested at all, you got to give it a shot.
Yeah, I'd take Vieira over Poch. I don't love.
You're crazy.
I don't love these. I don't love these front foot tactics that Poch has. He's very much a man marking guy in transition, high press. I do not want to see Tim Ream in a high press, brother. I don't want to see our fullbacks in it. Like I just think Serginho's going to be back and he's going to be exposed in a high press.
He won't play Tim Ream. He'll give him the Thiago Silva treatment and throw him on the bench. He'll value youth.
Thiago Silva played like a bit at the start of the season, brother.
He did at the start, yes. And then they found themselves up the ladder towards the end of the season when he stopped playing.
I think he's gonna come in and blow more hot air under this player pool and make them feel even more full of themselves. And we're gonna see more of these stupid commercials of how all the pressure's on their shoulders. And shut up, you guys aren't that good. Let's go grind out some results. That's what I am looking for. So he has no international experience.
Honestly, I think.
What do you think?
With the egos he dealt with at Chelsea, all those young players who have been bought for so much money, get paid so much money that they have to have crazy ego. I thought he actually did relatively well in making a team that worked and could get results, especially the second half of the season. I think he doesn't get enough credit for that. And if he could do it with that player pool, I think he could temper out these guys in the United States. Their egos are big, sure, but it's a similar situation, I think, in that regard.
Chelsea's a mess, but they're better than the USMNT national team when it comes to talent. So
yeah, that's true.
I think I don't know, dude. For the next 4 years, I'm okay trying to evolve our football a little bit more. We have 2 years to get this right, guys. Let's grind out this World Cup and let's have a really good quarterfinal and Cinderella semifinal run. That's what I'm looking for. I think Poch will get outclassed by by just not even his tactic. It's just I don't think he's the right guy right now. If you tell me in 2 years that he wants the job, I'd be a lot more interested. And I would like him more than Nancy, obviously. So, but yeah, Mike, that brings us to you. Your second favorite pick for the job. Who are we taking?
Yeah, another divisive name. This is gonna piss even more people off, I'm sure. Give me Gareth Southgate, the man fresh out of a job with England. Gareth doesn't get a lot of love. He's earned some of that hate for sure, but he's a successful international manager, one of the most successful in the modern game. If he's available, it's a no-brainer, in my opinion. You have to go for it. He knows the European competition that we're likely to play, at least a few of those teams in the World Cup, which is huge. He knows how to deal with them. He knows how to set up to go on a deep run in a tournament, which we don't have that experience with our current managers or the names we're looking at, which is huge. And he's a great dude for media purposes, super well trained in that regard, can take pressure, can take hate, doesn't do the Greg Berhalter tactics of shifting it onto other people and bitching. Sure, he's got his moments where he says he needs Calvin Phillips or whatnot, but everybody's not perfect, right? I think it'd be just a phenomenal hire. And if he's interested now, which would be kind of crazy, that'd be a little bit of a rebound in his case. Fuck it. Give in. Let him have it.
If we go from Berhalter to British Berhalter, there's going to be riots on the street for sure.
Berhalter's crazy. That's not accurate.
Listen, the Calvin Phillips comment alone might be enough to not hire him. We don't have a Calvin Phillips when looking at that player pool. And that is probably most people's biggest gripe, is that despite deep runs in tournaments, there's still this sense of underachieving with the current England setup. And so we have definitely been underachieving with our player pool. So it feels like, how will he really push to get more out of these guys? I think that's the biggest name, or the biggest question about this name. So Southgate is Mike's second guy. My second guy.
The semifinals, dude. I'm happy.
Again, we do not have England's talent, but is what it is. My second guy is a game that's been at the tip of my tongue quite often these past couple of weeks. And I think that if he is the guy, then you are jumping for joy on the streets. It's one Hervé Renard. I think that Renard is arguably the ideal guy to take this job for 2 years in a home World Cup run. Listen, he said that a lot of people are talking about like he's had so many jobs. Yeah, that's what he wants to do. He doesn't want to stick around in one place too long. He understands that international cycles should be max 4 years. It should be one major tournament, really, to max. So that's kind of the way that international football works, in my opinion. Usually when guys re-up for another cycle of 4 years, it goes sour. It doesn't usually improve. It's more often than not, it stales out. It can go sour. It hardly ever improves, with very, very few exceptions. See Yogi Love, right? He definitely deserved a second cycle, but even he was able to kind of, he fizzled out in that second stint after 2014. So part of that is player turnover, but whatever. I think he's perfect. He said he'd be interested in getting a job in every single continent. He has had a proven track record of winning international tournaments, not participating, not managing, winning international tournaments. And if you are telling me that a guy like that can come in, he speaks English, by the way, come in and light a fire under these guys. He has all the passion in the world. He is incredibly adaptable. I couldn't really find too much on his tactics because they change everywhere he goes, which is what a good international manager should do. You play to your pool of players, play to their strengths. And in this case, I think that should be playing a little bit more of a, not parking the bus, but lower and countering a bit more. I think he'd be the right guy. And I mean, he would just make the ladies swoon. The ratings would go up and up. So Hervé Renard is my guy. Why is he not the guy, Tracy?
Dude, fuck the ladies. He'll make the men swoon. Hervé Renard is the guy in every sense of the word. You got it right. He'd be a great hire. Didn't put him on my list, but he would definitely warrant a spot. I agree with all of the praise and all of the things you said about him. Experienced winner, understands the cycle, will do a job in a short period, do it well, and maximize his teams, which he works with very little sometimes when he's with these smaller countries, and finds a way to get a signature win or run in a tournament, which is huge. And if we can translate that to the United States men's national team that does have more talent, that has a deeper player pool, it seems like a very, very strong fit.
Seems like no issues. The money's not going to be an issue. I think the desirability of the job will not be an issue. This one makes almost too much sense in my in my mind. And honestly, if it doesn't happen, I'm going to be a little bit confused. He's not my number one guy. We'll get to him later, but all signs point to Hervé Renard should be the guy if your federation is serious. Currently, all signs point to Patrick Vieira being the guy. So we will see there. But let's get to our number one options. Back to producer P. Who did Flag say is his number one guy that he wants to see manage the international team?
I'm not sure I'm going to say this right, but he picks Joachim Lau as number one. Is that how you say that?
Joshi Love.
Joshi Low. He says, and I quote, "Low because international experience with winning World Cup and building German program."
Enough said.
Also confirmed, not a Nazi, as confirmed by Footy with the Boys podcast.
Confirmed, not a Nazi.
Confirmed, not a Nazi.
We looked into
Sorry,
it.
Joe.
Confirmed, ball sniffer, but not a Nazi. Yikes. Does this count? Are we giving this to him as a realistic target, Tracy?
Yeah, I mean, he's not working. So if he's interested in working, I guess, if he's not fully committed to being retired, there's some level of realism. I think it's always a stretch when we talk about managers of this caliber because we haven't ever had it. And until we do have a coach of that caliber, it will seem a bit unrealistic. I think it could happen, though. And I think it would be a good hire.
Yeah, I mean, undoubtedly would be a good hire. I don't know if there really is anything negative to say about it. He's a World Cup winner. What more do you want? So if you tell me we could get a World Cup winner in to coach a World Cup on home soil, I'll take him 10 times out of 10. I don't see it happening, if I'm being honest. I don't even know if they're going to reach out, if I'm being honest. So they should, though. They definitely should. Mike, you're number one guy. Who are you pounding the table for?
I had a little bit of a reach here. And realism, we'll have to discuss the definition of that word. I'm going with an international man, a Premier League man, a well-traveled man, a certain Aussie with a deep accent. Give me Ange Postecoglou. Give me the Spurs head man, the former Aussie coach who won an AFC, has won international tournaments, has had memorable World Cup performances, and is doing it with Spurs in the Premier League, done it in Scotland. The experience is there. The temperament is there. The man management is there. The dude is going to straighten out a team, maximize performances, maybe get burned with some tactics sometimes, but plays entertaining football. Give me Ange Postecoglou.
I hate it so much.
I know you do. I know you do.
Hate it so much. By the way, I'm pretty sure he's already publicly said he doesn't want the job, but I do hate it so much. I mean, listen, the USA job's better than that shite job he's at now. So if the interest is there from USA and I'm Ange, I take it. I cannot stand to see us down to 10 men after Timmy Weah punches a guy and then he has our entire back line at the halfway point of the fucking field. I will cry. We'll get grouped again. He'll be a great soundbite. I will support him. It'll be fun to talk about, but he is the wrong guy for the job.
Perfect.
Yikes. It would be electric. It'd be electric, Ange would be. Yeah, you'd have to.
Only I had Jared
get
here.
Me.
We know Jared loves some Ange.
He does love Ange, but I think even he would flame this one. I don't know. I think you'd have to get a lot of drinks into me to talk me into this one, if I'm being honest. So, moving on then to the final guy, my guy, the number one guy. I think that take this with a grain of salt, as has been a common thread in all of our number one options. But he is someone that I've really, really talked myself into. And I think is the best option. Not the guy I would hire. I don't think. I'm still going with Renard, but I think he is the best option for the job in 2 years for this 2026 World Cup run. My number one main man that the U.S. should hire is Gareth Southgate, ladies and gentlemen. I have talked myself into it. The more I think about, Flags is going to hate us, bro. It's going to despise us. This was
He's
the
gonna
worst day
lose
for
his
you to miss a
fucking
pod,
mind,
bro.
He's gonna
Oh,
lose his
man.
This is the
mind.
worst day
I
for him
should
to
put
miss
him
a
at number
pod.
1 too, dude.
He's gonna watch this back and be like, "What the fuck are they talking about?"
Oh, he hates it.
And
He hates
listen,
it.
if you want to hear the critiques of Southgate, rewind about 2 minutes because I just critiqued them. But I do think Gareth Southgate is the right guy for the job. What has everyone been saying about Southgate's biggest issue as far as why they are underachieving? It's his tactics. You go up one and you play a low block. Why are you playing people to play more defensive? Why aren't you being more progressive? Sounds like a U.S. team that could have some success, if I'm being honest. I think, listen, say what you want. No, he has not achieved, but he has had deep runs. Again, I'm going against what I said about 5 minutes ago, but he has proven to achieve success that USA can only dream of. Not the ultimate success. I think he was right to be fired or right to step down or whatever the situation was there. But I think England needed to move on. But I think for 2 years here, I think he is the right guy. He's not going to play attractive football. I don't care. I'm so sick of hearing about tactics. I just want to win. That is all I want. He will play defensive. He will get us through. He understands. There is zero chance, by the way, that he would have lost that game against who did Timmy get the red card against? Was that Panama? Against Panama. Zero chance he would have lost that game. At 1-0 up at 10 men. Oh, dude. That box would have been packed. You wouldn't be able to see green grass in our own 18-yard box. That's how much you would have packed it in. We would have at least walked out of there with the draw. So I think he is the right guy for the job at this moment in time. Is he my choice? I don't think he is, but I think he is the guy. I really do. And if I see that Gareth Southgate is hired, I'm going to have high expectations for this 2026 World Cup because he's proven that he can get not only to the knockout stages, but win some ugly knockout games. So he is my guy. Mike, how mad is Flags?
Dude, he's so mad, but not as mad as the English fans will be when Gareth Southgate takes the Yanks to 2026 World Cup victory in their own country and wins a national tournament in way more recently than in this century. Something that England has not done, dude. How much would they hate him, dude? The tabloids would be screaming. They'd be calling for his head, calling him a traitor.
I mean, it'd be official. It'd be called soccer. It would no longer be football.
End of the debate.
End of the debate. It would be called soccer. Yeah. Sound off in the comments, boys. I know you're not going to agree with a lot of our first choices or any of our choices, really. I looked at my list, and my list was Vieira, Renard, and Southgate. And I was like, man, I don't think I'd hire 2 of these 3 guys. But man, I do think they warrant a really big shout. So let us know what you think. Who did we miss on this list? Who should be the guy, the people we mentioned? Do you agree that it's Gareth Southgate? Is he the guy for these 2 years? Are you looking for the dashing Herve Renard? Is Patrick Vieira? Is there hope if Vieira is our guy? And if you think it should be Steve Cherundolo, please stay the hell away from our comment section. But that is it for us from Footy with the Boys. Mike, sound off. What are your closing thoughts here as we wrap up the show?
Just remember, everybody, any of these options would be better than Greg Berhalter. So we're moving in the right direction. It's been a joy. It's been a pleasure. Let us know why Big Ange Postecoglou is going to come save us all. Check us out next time.
I forgot about Ange, if I'm being honest. Boys, check out all of our socials. Subscribe to this. Make sure to like this video. Hey, some new updates coming soon to some of our branding. So keep your eye open for that. And as always, it was a pleasure having you, boys. Peace.